There are some things you should never watch for too long. A fire, a funeral, and the apartment across the street. I learned that the hard way. My name is Daniel Carter. 3 years ago, after my divorce, I moved into a cheap apartment in a neighborhood most people avoided. It wasn't dangerous, not exactly. The crime rate was low, the streets were quiet, the buildings were old, too old. The kind of old where the walls seemed to remember things. The kind of old where the elevators groaned like they were in pain. The kind of old where every hallway smelled vaguely of dust, mildew, and something you couldn't identify. Something ancient. I didn't care. After losing my wife, my house, and most of my savings, cheap was all I could afford. The apartment was small, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 3rd floor. Across the street stood another apartment building, a much older one, gray concrete, cracked windows, rust-colored stains running down the walls like dried blood. Every unit looked abandoned, except one. Apartment 307, every night at exactly 11:13 p.m., a woman appeared in its window. She never moved, never sat down, never looked away. She simply stood there, watching. At first I thought she was lonely, maybe elderly, maybe suffering from insomnia. Maybe she simply enjoyed staring out the window. People do strange things. I ignored it for the first week. Then I noticed something strange. She never turned on a light, not once. Yet I could still see her, perfectly. The room behind her remained completely dark, pitch black, and somehow her silhouette was always visible, as though the darkness itself outlined her body. The realization unsettled me, but curiosity is a dangerous thing, especially at night. One evening I asked my neighbor about her. Mrs. Reynolds, 70 years old, lived next door, knew everything. The moment I mentioned apartment 307, her expression changed. The smile disappeared. Her eyes hardened. "Don't look at that window," I laughed. "Why?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked toward my apartment, toward my living room, toward the exact window where I could see 307. Then she whispered, "Because sometimes she looks back." The words sent a chill through me. I expected her to laugh afterward, to reveal it was a joke. She never did. Instead, she quietly walked away. That should have been enough. It wasn't. The next night I watched, 11:13 p.m., like clockwork. The woman appeared. Same position, same silhouette, same motionless stare. I sat on my couch, watching. 10 minutes, 20, 30. Nothing happened. I felt ridiculous. Maybe Mrs. Reynolds was losing her mind. Maybe the entire building enjoyed scaring newcomers. At midnight, I finally stood up, and that's when it happened. The woman moved, a tiny movement, barely noticeable, a slight tilt of the head, but enough to freeze me in place, because for the first time I realized something. She wasn't looking out her own window. She was looking directly at mine, at me. The realization struck like ice water. Every instinct told me to close the curtains. Instead, I kept staring. The woman slowly raised her hand, then pointed. Not toward the street, not toward the sky, toward my apartment, toward my bedroom. I stepped backward, heart pounding. A second later, my bedroom door slammed shut. Bang! The sound echoed through the apartment. I nearly jumped out of my skin. My pulse thundered in my ears. I rushed to the bedroom. The window was closed. No wind, no explanation. The door simply shouldn't have moved. Yet it had. I locked it, then spent the rest of the night awake, listening, waiting. Nothing happened. Morning arrived. Sunlight made everything seem foolish, rational, explainable, until I noticed something outside. Apartment 307, its window was boarded shut, completely. No glass, no curtains, no opening whatsoever, just wooden boards. Fresh ones. I stared for several seconds, confused. That wasn't possible. I'd seen the woman, just hours ago. I walked across the street. The building looked even worse up close. Paint peeling, concrete crumbling, graffiti covering the lower walls. A maintenance worker smoked near the entrance. I asked him about apartment 307. The cigarette slipped from his fingers. He stared at me, then slowly shook his head. "Nobody lives there." "That's impossible," he swallowed. Apartment 307 has been empty for 22 years. I laughed nervously. Then who stands in the window every night? The man looked genuinely frightened. Don't ask questions you don't want answered. Then he walked away. Actually walked away, leaving me standing there alone. That night I couldn't stop thinking about it. I told myself I wouldn't look. I promised. At 11:12 p.m., I was already at the window, waiting. 11:13 p.m. The woman appeared. Despite the boards, despite everything, there she stood, watching, motionless. The darkness behind her somehow deeper than before, like a hole cut into reality itself. Then something changed. For the first time, I could see her face. Not clearly, just enough. Enough to realize she wasn't old. She wasn't young either. Her skin appeared unnaturally pale, almost gray. Her eyes looked completely black. Not dark, black, as if no light could exist inside them. Then she smiled. The smile was wrong. Too wide, too slow. Human mouths don't move like that. My stomach dropped. I backed away from the window. The smile widened further. Then all the lights in my apartment went out. Every single one. Darkness swallowed the room. I cursed. Reached for my phone. The flashlight flickered on and immediately illuminated something standing in my hallway. A woman, tall, motionless, watching me. I nearly screamed. The flashlight flickered again. The hallway was empty. Nothing there. My breathing became ragged. The power returned moments later. I checked every room. Nothing. No intruder. No explanation. No sign of anyone. But when I returned to the living room, apartment 307's window was empty. The woman had vanished. The next morning, I found something outside my apartment door. An old photograph, black and white, weathered with age. The image showed the building across the street, taken decades earlier. Standing in one of the windows was the same woman. Same face, same smile. On the back, someone had written a date. October 14th, 1971. 50 years earlier. My hands trembled. That wasn't possible. No one remains unchanged for 50 years. No one. At the bottom of the photograph was a sentence, written in faded ink. She only appears to those who look back. That was the moment I should have left. Packed my belongings, moved somewhere else, anywhere else. Instead, I became obsessed, because fear and curiosity are cousins, and both are killers. I started researching the building, old newspaper archives, city records, historical documents, anything. What I discovered terrified me. For over 60 years, people had vanished from apartments facing Unit 307. Not hundreds, not dozens, exactly 27. The first disappearance happened in 1963. The latest happened only 5 years ago. Every victim shared one thing in common. Neighbors reported they frequently stared out their windows late at night, watching something across the street, watching apartment 307. And every victim disappeared exactly 7 days after first reporting strange sightings. 7 days. I checked the calendar. My stomach tightened. I had first noticed the woman 6 days ago. Tomorrow would be day 7. That night I locked every door, every window, every possible entrance. I wasn't taking chances. At 11:13 p.m., I refused to look outside. I sat in the kitchen, away from every window, away from every view of the street. Then I heard a knock, 3 slow taps, coming from the glass, not the door, the window. Tap, tap, tap. I closed my eyes, ignored it. The knocking continued, slowly, patiently, like something enjoying itself. Tap, tap, tap. Then a voice whispered, from outside, 3rd floor, no balcony, no fire escape, no possible place for a person to stand. Yet the voice was unmistakable. A woman's voice, soft, gentle, almost affectionate. Daniel? My blood turned cold. The voice knew my name. Daniel? Another whisper, closer. The knocking became louder, more aggressive. The glass trembled. I covered my ears, refused to listen, refused to look. Then the whisper came from inside the apartment, directly behind me. Look at me. I turned. and saw her standing in the hallway, smiling, closer than ever before, her black eyes reflecting nothing. The lights died, and everything went dark, except her smile, floating in the darkness, growing wider, 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 until it split her face apart. And then she said something that changed everything. Something that made me realize the woman in apartment 307 was not haunting the building. The building was haunting her, and she had been trapped there for over 50 years, waiting for someone to take her place.